Hello and happy Tuesday. I hope that your June 1st, your month started off on a high note. If you haven't watched my June reading yet, then I would suggest you do that if you are interested. I will link it right here because today's reading is a collective pull, so take what resonates, leave what doesn't. But going off of what I said in the June reading, where you have to start taking things slow, where you have to start listening to your body, where you have to start going back to the basics and simplifying your life, I don't want to just throw you into a dark room and expect you to find your way out. I do want to take a look at how you can learn to trust yourself, because I think that in a world where we constantly need to improve and we constantly need to strive for something bigger and better and be productive, we don't know how to intuitively listen to ourselves and learn to trust ourselves and know what we actually need, because something else or somebody else or society or the world is actually telling you what you should be doing, who you should be, and then you lose sight of who you are and how you actually want to behave on an intuitive level, and therefore you don't know how to trust your intuition. So with that being said, I want to take a look at how you can learn to trust yourself a little bit more, what you should be doing to trust yourself a little bit more, and how you can align more with your intuition. The Nine of Pentacles is falling out, focusing on abundance, focusing on who you are and what you do have and what you already provide, both for yourself and for the people around you and for the world around you, instead of constantly seeking improvement. Simplifying your life instead of waiting for the next big thing that is going to come in and save you, whether this be a person, whether this be a mindset shift, whether this be a book. You need to start paying attention to what you already have. You are more abundant than you think you are. You are more important than you think you are, and you don't give yourself enough credit because, again, you constantly need to improve and you constantly seek the next big thing in order to be able to improve yourself the way that you think that you need to, not necessarily the way that you want to. The World card is falling out, which is all about ending to cycles, making a shift. Maybe in order to trust yourself, you need to, I don't want to say lose everything, but change the way that things are going right now, because potentially, if you really sit down and think about it, maybe the way that you have been living your life isn't necessarily the way that you are going to reach your fullest potential in terms of taking care of yourself, in terms of being happy more consistently, in terms of understanding yourself and the world around you. Today, I actually heard a psychologist who I'm following on Instagram. If you're interested in finding out who that is, you can go to my follows on Instagram and find him. He mentioned that there is 4 stages to self-regulation and therefore self-improvement. The first stage is physical, and then the next 3 stages are philosophical, finding your mission in life, your purpose in life, and then reaching a sense of spirituality. The last 3 forms of improvement can go in any order, but if you don't have the physical aspects of your life down, which means eating better, which means sleeping better, which means listening to yourself and the things that your body needs, exercising, not necessarily going all out and finding the physique that you are striving for because you see other people on Instagram who look the way that you want to look, but remember that that isn't the reality. That is just social media. But I digress. If you do not find the physical aspects to set your discipline for, to treat your body with the bare minimum that it deserves, you will never be able to listen to your intuition. You will never be able to find that sense of spirituality and purpose in life that you are striving for. So maybe it's time for you to start thinking differently. And that is the purpose of this reading, to give you the motivation to do something different, to not be afraid of being a beginner at something, to knowing that just because you've been living your life so consistently and so habitually doesn't mean that this is the way that you need to live your life for the rest of your life, because there is better out there for you. There always is. Yes, there's always room for improvement, but at the end of the day, in order to trust yourself more, you need to go back to the basics. You need to focus on your abundance and you need to take care of yourself. The Queen of Pentacles is falling out again. I think that that is going to be the theme for June, of nurturing your soul, nurturing your physical materialistic world, again, sleep, food, social time, spending time with yourself versus spending time with others, reading instead of consuming and doom scrolling all the time, going out in nature, touching grass. It is warm outside. You can finally do that. Going back to the basics. Ending the cycle that you are in right now, especially if you've been feeling like you've been doing the work to get yourself out of whatever situation that you were in, but it isn't working out for you. I don't think that you have the physical aspect down. So In order to trust yourself more, you need to go back to the basics. That I knew that was going to happen in this reading, but how to do that is to focus on the abundance that you already have, focus on the gratitude that you have, and bring that gratitude back into your physical realm. Eat better. Be grateful for the food that you have instead of starving yourself in order to get the perfect social media body that doesn't actually exist. Be cognizant of the things that you eat and when you eat them, because sometimes if you start getting so worked up with everything that is happening in your life, you might get too anxious or too stressed to eat. So put that as an important aspect of your life. Sleeping, getting enough sleep. Taking care of yourself, going on walks, and actually touching grass is going to be very good for you to start listening to yourself and your own intuition. And the Queen of Wands is falling out. I love that the queens are falling out because that's all about nurturing others, but being selfish is the most selfless thing that you can do, bringing that energy back to yourself, finding your spark again. I think that that is also a big issue of why you can't trust yourself is because you've lost your spark. Queens, you are so intertwined with other people's lives of needing to put other people first that you forget to prioritize yourself sometimes, and therefore you lose your spark through the process. So in order to trust yourself, physical first and foremost, eating better, sleeping better, listening to your body better, going on a spa day, honestly, just taking care of yourself. Number 2, touching grass, becoming more interconnected with the realm of everything else that's not society, that's not the basics of living, because what were humans meant to do? We were meant to sleep, we were meant to eat, and we were meant to reproduce. There was nothing else. We, as people, decided that we needed to fill up the space in between those important parts of life. So going back to those basics, touching grass, going outside, and therefore you are going to have an easier time finding your spark again. And if you find your spark, it's going to be easier for you to trust yourself because you'll know what you want from life. You'll know what your mission is. You'll know what to strive for. And you'll know what the important parts of your everyday life are going to become. It is very important for you to learn to trust yourself again. And I know that it's very hard, especially right now. Maybe there's something happening in the atmosphere that I'm not aware of. Maybe this is the Pluto retrograde that is affecting me so much, but simplify your life a little bit more. It's going to be a lot easier for you to trust yourself when there's not a million voices in your head telling you what you should be doing, who you should become, and you have to start listening to yourself. It starts from you and it starts from your heart. Please take care of yourself.